Hello, and welcome to Design Curious Podcast. This is episode 31, and I am Rebecca Ward, your host and mentor. Today we are talking about the value of being coached, and I have a lot of experience in being coached over the last several years, 10 years maybe, of really hiring coaches and seeing the benefit that they have done for my business. So I'm going to get all into that in the episode, and I want to remind you we have some free downloads for you. I have the 3 things I wish I'd known when I started out in my career as an interior designer, so you can find out what those 3 things are, and also the roadmap for becoming an interior designer. So get those downloads. I'll put you on the list to receive emails about the podcast every week and any bonus things that I might be sending out. That can all be found in our show notes and on our website. And don't forget to leave me a rating and review. I love to see those come in and just love to know that you are getting benefit out of this podcast. I've really enjoyed doing them. I have so many more great things planned, and I want to make sure that the topics that you are wanting, I am addressing. So if you want to leave me a review or go to my Instagram and leave me a direct message there, I'd love to chat with you about any topic that you want to hear on this podcast. All right, so let's get into the topic of coaching. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. When I was young, I was always hesitant about asking for help, even in high school. Like if I needed help with a subject, I was afraid to ask because I think that would be admitting to myself that I was not good at it. And so instead of seeing it as like, oh, I don't know how to do this well, I need an expert to show me how to do it better, I looked at it more from a shaming aspect of like, I should know how to do this and I don't, and I'm afraid to ask for the help. Fortunately, I did not struggle too much in school, but there was a few subjects that I definitely should have gotten tutoring in, and I didn't. And so I definitely grew from that point because now I am always asking for help and offering help to other people. So in my path to becoming an independent interior designer, I was first starting out on my own around 2008 when blogging was really starting to take off. I think it wasn't something that every single designer was doing yet. I had a colleague who had a very successful and popular blog, and so it inspired me to start a blog. I'm always like an early adapter. I'd say not the earliest of adapters, but I am an early adapter to see like, oh, this person is doing really well at this. Maybe I should try it myself. So since I had a lot of more time as I was only self-employed in 2009, I started taking a course called Blogging Your Way. And it was the first time I had actually taken an online course or been a part of a group coaching program that I really discovered the benefits of that type of product where it's one-to-many. The coach is helping a lot of people. She did give some direct feedback to each of us, eventually her or her partner who was also running the course. But it was really beneficial just to have the generic knowledge that they were giving out. So that kind of opened my eyes to understanding that I can learn things virtually, first of all, and that there's experts out there who I can learn from to make my craft better. And so blogging was one of them, and I really enjoyed doing that for a long time. We still have a blog, but it is definitely not as much of a big deal as it was around 2009. And so after a few years, I decided I could maybe learn a little bit more about running my design business because I was still struggling to really know if I was doing it the right way. I was charging hourly, but I wasn't charging for all of my hours, and I wasn't charging a high enough price. So the first coaching program that I became a part of, this coach was promoting flat fees, and especially during the Great Recession, it was a lot harder for people to hire designers because it was such a luxury business, and the clients that I were working with were not very high end. It was helpful for me that this coach promoted the idea of charging a flat fee per room, which it turned out was a lot more than I had been asking people and charging people for. Even though I would say in hindsight, this is definitely not, it wasn't a good model for the long run. What it was really good for was asking for a lot of money upfront from the client and having them say yes. So it was a good practice for me to say like, okay, this design is going to cost $5,000 for these 3 rooms, and this is what's included. Does that work for you? The client would say, yes, here's your $5,000 up front. And so getting that much money up front was a gradual way for me to understand the worth and the value that I was bringing, and just asking for those numbers. Money is hard. And sometimes you get hung up on your own money issues. You're imposing them on your clients. They might not have the same money issues. And so it was really good practice for me to set it up that way. But then after a while, finding that I wasn't actually making enough money with that model, and that I was putting a lot more into my designs than I was actually charging for. So that's when I discovered Kimberly Selden in Business of Design, and I got her books and I started implementing slowly. And then I kind of didn't for a little while. I just kind of did my own thing, but I went back to the hourly, and I always charged for my initial consultation because I was with ASID, and that's something that they definitely promote within the organization, that you charge for your initial consultation because you're a professional and your time is valuable. I'm sure I was only charging like $100 or something for 2 hours, but it was a start. So I was doing that. I was charging hourly, but not for all my hours. But I did increase my price and start to set up some procedures after learning about Business of Design. And then one day I actually discovered podcasts. And I think it had started with, I was listening to NPR and they had a certain podcast I started listening to. And then I'm like, what are podcasts and what kind of subject matter out there? And then I'm like, oh, Kimberly has a podcast on interior design business practices. And so I binged that for weeks and really got fired up to start implementing her program. I signed up for Business of Design and really have seen, I still continue as a member today, and I'm in their mastermind program. And it's just been so beneficial. All the things that she has helped me along the way with my systems and procedures and business practices, and then introducing me to other designers who have similar problems, and we can learn from each other. So like I said, I still do that. But then along the way, right before the pandemic, I think it was in 2019, I started listening to Toby Fairley's podcast and getting curious about her coaching program, because what was attracting me to her coaching program was that she was talking about designers having a scalable offer. And I think that especially 4 years ago, this was something new for designers to think about, a one-to-many approach. I mean, there was always e-design, but I really wasn't interested in e-design per se. And it's something I've offered on and off through the past. But what was really interesting to me was that she was commenting on how the industry is shifting and that designers really need to be thinking about scalable model. They can't always rely on the one-to-one business practices, and there's more things that you can offer as a designer that can help you to increase your bottom line. And so I signed for Design U, and I really enjoyed her digital marketing for creatives program that's in there. And that is why when 2020 hit, the pandemic, we all closed down, I was primed and ready to create a course that I could put out there. Even though I wasn't able to meet with clients one-on-one, I was able to market to more people and have a course that was available for them to purchase, ready to go. So that first course is called Home Design Coach, and it is for the consumer who is kind of a DIY, wants to design their room like a pro and has some talent, but maybe doesn't have the budget to hire a designer. So this kind of teaches them the skills that they need to get their house looking like a designer came through, but is actually them. And it's a learnable skill that they can transfer to their next house. And so we had many people come through that, and it's quite successful. I created another course called Shifting Spaces, and this is also for the consumer. This course is to help the consumer understand what it is they need out of their home, and the shifting circumstances in their life might cause their home to need to change, and really to understand what it is they want out of their home before they even meet with a designer or before they even meet with a realtor to buy a new house. This is a course that's really helpful for them to kind of get a list of things that they want out of their home and really evaluate if they are getting the most out of their current place or if they need to remodel or move. So that's Shifting Spaces. And then, of course, in that time, I also started my design mentor, and that was in 2021. And that just came out of the idea because I was constantly being solicited by students or potential designers looking to get into the industry. And they would ask, can we go for coffee? Do you have like an hour? I can call you on the phone. Can you answer this email of like 20 questions that I have about the career? And I was doing this over and over, and it was just taking too much time away from my projects, and I wasn't always able to accommodate their request. And so I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be great if I could do kind of a one-to-many approach here, help the people to answer their questions and to meet with them once a month if they want to, and have a lot of resources for them to, on their own, even discover if it's the right career for them through my design mentor. And so that was how that was born. And and I definitely would correlate that to Toby Fairley's Design You as the impetus for me even thinking in that direction. And then, of course, this podcast even came out from there as an avenue to reach more people about the career. All of that to say, I probably wouldn't have done that without the coaching that I had gotten from Toby Fairley's program and from the life coaches that she has in there working on mindset and everything like that. And speaking of life coaching, I remember the first time I heard about a colleague having a life coach and the misconceptions that I had around life coaching. I remember thinking at the time, why would anybody need or want a life coach? Like someone to tell them what to do in their life. And that, of course, is not what a life coach does. All coaches are going to ask you the hard questions and help you get to the point of answering them for yourself. So really, life coaching, which is what is also kind of offered through the Design You program. I worked with some life coaches in there, and I found it so beneficial really to just identify the mindsets that were holding me back in my business and how to recognize them, replace them with positive outlooks, positive mindsets, things that are going to help me move towards success instead of hinder me. And so now I can completely understand life coaching, and that probably everybody needs some life coaching every so often because we always have something that's holding us back. And it's good to analyze what it is you're thinking and have someone else kind of iterate it back to you so you can say like, oh no, that actually isn't positive for you. That actually isn't a good thing. That's going to keep you from going forward in your business. And so, yeah, life coaching is also a great experience that I've learned along the way. And so then I guess I have become a very coachable person, and I've changed over the years, obviously since high school, and I have no problem asking for help. And of course, for the podcast, I went through Bethany Reed's course and coaching program that she has for podcasts. And she was on episode 18. If you missed her, go back and listen to that. If you have any interest in messaging or branding or even having a podcast yourself, you're going to want to reach out to her. And so all that to say that I think coaching is amazing, that I don't think that you can really go from beginner to successful, experienced person without the help of a coach. At least you can't do it very quickly. So a coach can definitely fast track your experience. Now, next week, I'm going to have an interview with a coach who we discussed that exact fact that coaching can really fast track your path to success. And so all that to say, that is the value of coaching. And so I would say do it. If you're thinking about the career, you can start off with my design mentor. It's definitely, I've created it to be like the first step on your coaching plan. Because if you're anything like me, you need kind of baby steps into coaching, I think. So the mentorship really, and we talk about this next week, how the difference between a mentorship and a coaching. But I really think the mentorship is a good stepping stone on your way to these more robust coaching programs. And if you are interested in going straight to the coaching programs, that is great too. I have links for those in the show notes, and you can click on those and sign up for all of those programs. So I know it sounds like I have a million coaches, and can there be too many coaches? At one time, I would say yes. I'm definitely, I think, at my limit of being in coaching programs and, just having the time to be coached and implement the things that I'm learning from my coaches. So I learned that I had to set limits on that as well, because I am multi-passionate and just interested in personal growth and in the growth of my company. And I'm always looking for ways to fast track that and to make it the best it can be. And I know coaching is such a pivotal part of that, but I do have to limit myself on that sometimes with my 3 to 4 coaches that I work with now. So that being said, if you would like to get baby steps into being coached, you can join my design mentor. The link is in the show notes, and I would love to have you in there and just kind of introduce you to the whole world of coaching and learning from someone else to get you going on your way. And then I also have the links for the other programs that I belong to, if that's something that you'd like to join as well. I have affiliate links in there for you, and they'll know that you came from me and from the Design Curious podcast. And that will kind of give you a leg up so that they know that you are a qualified person ready to be coached. So go ahead and check out those links in the show notes. And I'm so glad you're here and you're staying here for all the great interviews and topics I have to come to help you understand if interior design is the career for you. So until next time, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.